Hey, this is spookymicmellow, the same person that has been mentioned from the previous devlogs, and I'm going to be showing you some of these sprites that we've been working on recently. We've gotten some of the basic like trees out of the way. We introduced our first actual enemy. This little guy shoots little magma balls, and it actually affects the title. We made sprite sheets. We made more tile sprite. Here's some water and a little fishy. And we've also been working on why. I'm trying to make every bar a sword, so that's been going fun. We've also have a little day and night cycle icon going around here, further progressing in difficulty. More sword bars. There we go. Also, we've done a bunch of particle effects. We have stone tree chips, and I don't have them up, but those grass blades and the magma chips for this guy. So lots of particle effects for the game. And this is this is the boss, but we don't know if we're gonna have time to implement it. But it's here. Um, we have plans for it to have some moves, but we're gonna just try and get the game out and see when he'll fit in. And here's the thumbnail art. Trying to get a bit creative with it. And that's all of the artwork I have so far. I'm gonna give it up for Zahavi.
Perfect. All right. Spooky McMellow has been working on this for 10, 11 straight hours at this point. We've been chugging nonstop for our final day. We've got 11 hours and 34 minutes left at this point, and we're going to keep going to try to polish out some edges, increase performance, things like that, before the deadline actually hits. So, in the actual game, talk about its features. We do have a lot of new stuff from last time. Last time we had our character spinning and cutting grass and getting experience for cutting grass, but we didn't actually do anything with it. Now, we've got a procedurally generated tile map and a large amount of animated tiles from Spooky to choose from. If you scroll in, actually, you can sort of see there's a subtle movement on each of these different tiles. There is about 16 different grass tiles in total just on the grass to give some variation and other things. And our character is able to swing at a larger breadth of enemies now. So we're able to chop through grass with different stat blocks, defenses, HP points. There's a certain couple types I won't talk too much about right now, but I'm able to change their damage reduction and the amount of hit points they have and experience they gain respectively. So Angry Grass, as an example, take some of the most damage but have some extra experience towards them. Where the Happy Grass takes full damage even if you're not swinging your sword. He'll take some extra damage on top of things like that. So it's easier to wiggle back and forth for certain enemies versus something like the rock, where if you just bump into it, it's not going to do too much. If you get a small hit on it, you'll barely see its HP go down. So you want to build up your spin before you actually hit the guy. Your damage is based on the amount of spin you currently have, so it's ideal to build up enough to hit, but not spend so much time spinning in a circle that you don't get to attack that frequently. In addition, the controls have been updated. Everything's pretty smooth, and we have Xbox controller support. You can press A and hold it and let go of A, and it'll reverse directions, and you can move around with the control stick as well. So that's all of the controls and the initial impression out of the way. We've got the different collision layers, so the player is not going to be interrupted on his swing by water tiles, but he is blocked on movement by them, for example. And same with certain other obstacles like rocks and stuff. And they have different physics for bounciness as well. So if a sword hits a rock, it sort of recoils off a bit, but if it hits a tree, its bounce is a lot less, and it's a lot harder to get something out of that. The sword also has a bounciness of its own that could be upgraded in game as we go through. The shadows and lighting, I have changed a bit from the last video. I think I need to work on how individual objects receive lighting and casting shadows onto themselves. But I did tweak a lot of shadow values to sort of constrain things and get less disorienting shadows, especially for the trees and rocks that are coming in. So they feel a bit more circular. And next on the list, I want to talk about the UI. We've got the lerping and backgrounds all set together. This is your acceleration bar now, how much acceleration you're pumping into your sword. And this meter right here isn't working yet. I just need, it's one of the few things I have on here, is a new game mechanic. Because currently, when you run out of time, like we're about to, your time freezes down, you get your final score, boot back to main menu, play again. And then it'll give you a new map. Good luck. Try your best, right? But we have a new idea that sort of hammers down the theme of power a bit more, which is power source. Your sword needs to keep killing things in order to sustain itself, in order to keep going. So that's what this new meter is going to be for. Whenever you get a kill, it refreshes and you can keep playing the game for longer. So however long you can keep this up is going to help you get more experience overall and a higher score. Playing for the highest score that you can. If we can, we get a boss fight in it as well to finish it off. So that is the UI, that is the tile maps and other things. I just want to demonstrate the flexibility in its collision and also talk about the weights for it. But I've also worked on a lot of optimization. It's running hundreds of objects right now, and it's currently running at 200-ish frames per second. We're disabling components and other things, so grass does not show its HP bar or update it until you actually hit it for the first time, by example. And I've removed the animated component from grass to save a lot of resources, whereas things like the rocks still retain their bounce and stretch behaviors. And now I'm looking at this map and I'm seeing not a lot of rocks actually. If I want to make that more consistent, I can go into our generator code. I've learned a lot about the Walker algorithm from Garnet on YouTube, talking about the Walker algorithm with 2D sprite maps and other things. And I've got my own class here where you anchor it to an object for organization purposes. There is the animated tile, so animated tile will store all of the that's base unity. It'll store all of the tiles to swap between for animations. The weight, the weighted RNG for how often this tile will appear on the map, and if it has an object to spawn when this tile is created. So for example, if we go through this 20 tile list, we'll see an animated tile over, let me scroll over to our tiles folder here and stretch this up a bit so we can see more. If we go into our tiles by example, I have all of these animated tile scriptable object values. It'll contain a number of sprites, a maximum and minimum speed for updating, a start time to offset things. So all of these tiles have slightly different values, and they have their two different frames that they will alternate in between with Spooky's boiled line art. And we'll be able to get a nice rippling effect like grass is swaying through the wind and other things. And it's the same thing for our rocky tiles that I'm going to expand upon soon, our water tiles, and so forth. And if we go into our generator, all of these 20 tiles that are some set of animation, drop rate, and an object to spawn, all of them are weighted. So right now, the drop rate is combined from all of these tiles, and then I generate a random number up to the combined drop rate, and iterate through the list to see which one we select. In other words, the heavier the value, the more likely that this one gets picked. So I see a lot of 0.5 values on the grass angry enemy, or the 0.5 on the grass buds, 0.5 here, 0.5 there, a 0.8 on a tile that is, by example, grass boiled 5. These two sprites right here, slightly weightier, so you'll see them more frequently than the ones that spawn stuff. And we can play with these values as such. If I were to increase the drop rate to 100, for example, some ridiculous arbitrary value, you'll see everything else decreases because the system is favoring this tile a lot more than anything else. And there it is. The map is pretty much filled with the same tile now that it's generated. So if I were to change something ridiculous, like say this one that spawns the angry grass, and I were to increase that drop rate to a 40, you're going to get a ridiculously large amount of objects. Previously, this used to drop our frame rate down to about 40 frames, but now our Unity is able to handle it at about 100 frames, and we're still doing good. You're just filled with grass that you're allowed to start chewing into. Even after UI bars start updating and getting stuff, we're still chugging above 1. Ridiculous experience, probably not the best. And you could see the tile associated with spawning angry grass is this one right here. So that's how the system works. It's very adjustable, and I'm going to have a lot of fun playing around with it. The only other detail I really have to add is some polishing with collision layers, but that's all nitty-gritty stuff. I don't got to worry about that. I do want to improve the Walker algorithm for next video and make more continuous sections of area. So Spooky showed off the molten tiles that he made earlier. If I can go into here and to here, by example, I want a sort of area that's rocky and dirty and very solid, lots of stone, increased stone spawns, and things like that. But right now, it just kind of scatters it a bit randomly. So I'm hoping that I'll get chains of different Walker objects, and I'll tweak the algorithm to have more continuous patches of area, like a sort of continental masses attaching to one another. So that is the plan going forward, and for the publishing of the game tomorrow, we're going to try to add a few powers and rewards for leveling up to help you chop, kill more things, and complete the game loop. So we've got a long night of work ahead of us, but that summarizes just about everything that I've been doing working on this game. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, that was about it. Anything to add?
Nope. I think you handled it perfectly.
All right, perfect.